Welcome to the first episode of Under the Influence. This is a new series where I invite some of your favorite pro skaters to talk about their favorite pro skaters. In other words, I invite some of the best rollerbladers in the world to come on and grom out about the skaters that had a huge influence on them, whether it's in terms of their trick vocabulary, in terms of the spots that they like to skate or the type of skating that they like to do, even their fashion sense, their music choice. It can be anything, any influence, big or small. In this first episode, I invited Eugen Ennen on. Eugen turned pro for USD in 2015, and since then, in fact, even before then, he has been on an absolute tear. He has had 3 pro skates with USD. He would have had a 4th one, but his second carbon-free skate never came out. Numerous pro wheels with Undercover. He's had a pro frame with Kaiser. I think he's had more than one pro frame. He's a Barkland Zoo frame. I know that. I'm getting logged down in details. Who cares? And on top of that, he has delivered not only incredibly high level output, but consistently high level output. He's had sections in Jonas Hansen's video, The Groovy Deed. He also had a section in Jonas Hansen's VOD series, the Elite series. He's had numerous VODs of his own out. He's had so many sections for USD, Undercover, and Kaiser, and I feel like he has got more than his fair share of NBDs when it comes to never been done tricks before, or at least tricks I've never seen be done before. Eugen Ennen, I feel like he puts out 1 or 2 in every section that he comes out with. I know he's got this spot list or this trick list on his book or on his phone that he's just working his way through on various spots, and he's just always adding to it. It's just never ending. It's something he can never get on top of. And I'm just really interested to talk to him again because he's a really funny guy. He's got a great sense of humor, doesn't take himself too seriously. And yeah, I think this is going to be a good one. The initial idea for this series was I would invite skaters on and only get them to talk about one skater and particular sections or tricks that stood out for them. But when I asked Eugen about it, he ended up coming back with multiple skaters he wanted to talk about. So I don't know how to break it to you guys if you don't know this already, but Eugen's a bit of a nerd. So yeah, I'm just going to let him go wild, name as many as he wants. It's the first episode. We'll figure it out as we go along. Before we delve into all that, though, just want to say a massive shout out to all my Patreon supporters. They are listed on the screen now. If you want to support this channel, the best way to do it is on Patreon. You can join for as little as £3 a month. There are a ton of videos on there that have never been on YouTube and probably never will go on YouTube, and a bunch of other content. Also got t-shirts for sale. They are also on the screen now. So yeah, if you want to support this channel, pick one up. That's enough about me, though. I'll hand it over to Eugen.
After all my years and all my development and like what sources I have and like representing German rollerblading too, I think I will go like for Jochen Smuda and the remix of his clip section with the Deichkind track, which is quite a controversial track to use because back then it's a German techno rap band. And was even already back then, it was kind of controversial for Germany. It was like really, that's something different. But him using it, even so it was just a remix of his section, but I think it got, even for my generation, it was more appreciated than the section itself in clip. It was really impactful. And it was one of the, it gave me kind of like, let's say, it made me less worried to use German tracks because I used here and there some German tracks, even if it's just an Instagram clip or like sections here and there, some older ones, because it used to be a no-go. You can't use like a fucking German rap song or whatever. Nah, that's too cringe. Eugen, you can't. And I always thought like, what the fuck? Jochen Smuda did it too, and it worked so well and was so unique, and I liked it so much. And like even with my latest projects, not the Travis Scott one, this was quite mainstream, but like Concrete Circus, the tracks that have been used, they sound all different. The first one is like OG rap kind of style. The second one was a bit more dynamic and a bit electronic music, and the third one is like dancehall track. And they're actually all from the same artist from Berlin, and he's American German, but he's basically a German artist who raps in German stuff. So I got down the road into this kind of stuff. But the main reason I choose Jochen Smuda, because again, like the time period, I really love this time period when it was right before we rollerblading, or like the clothing style transitioned into tight pants and rocker kind of stuff. He was like the pinnacle when Yukon itself was still doing a bit more. Like Yukon is a brand of Jochen Smuda, if somebody doesn't know what's there. Or when they still did baggies, and there was a section when they still baggies, and then they slowly transitioned into more cleaner stuff, minimalistic stuff, which I still appreciated. I did the same later on when I was changing too. And the whole development, it was kind of like a representation for me for rollerblading itself and my own taste. Is like Yukon used to be baggy pants, really colorful clothes, a bit functional details here and there on the hoodies. They had like the tiny piece inside the t-shirt to clean your fisheye and stuff, these kind of details. And it always stuck in my mind for me and Danny, more functional stuff, like for my own clothing, for other stuff. And then they got more minimalistic, a bit more regular pants, and later on, and so on. And his rollerblading, especially in the section, always reflected like the brand a lot for me. In the beginning, they used terms like Yukon acrobatics and stuff, and I loved it. He was really clean and easy, trick-wise, not too complicated technical, because my technical inspirations are quite obvious. We'll look at my switch-ups like Mike Murder, Sean Kell, so I can repeat them over and over. But if you watch this section, this remix, you can see like, this is the first time Eugen was confronted with like parkour elements in rollerblading, because he does like a hand plant over a fan thingy into a ledge, or he did like a unity on a metal rail inside into a rail on a wall and stuff, and he does like tiny Dustin Latimer words kind of inspirations where he's running upstairs, tapping knob on a door and jumping off and these kind of stuff. And that was first time in my life back then like confronted with like different elements. Before I was deep diving into rabbit holes of Mathieu Ledoux and parkour elements. So it was the first time I'm like, oh, you can actually go into different directions with rollerblading. And another thing about the section, which has heavy impact on me, because it was filmed a lot in Germany, and German spots even back then were like quite dirty. And like as a North European guy, you probably know it was like rainy weather and shitty landings, 3D run-ups. You always dream about perfect California spots in schools. But Jochen Smuda made it work. He made his section work as like, oh, actually this spot is kind of nice and this spot is kind of nice. But in reality, it's all German spots with bad ground conditions. And he was skating Moog frames and Salomon setups. He made it work, like, and it's really inspired me to like accept what you have and like make the best out of it. And really find like in all the other aspects, he was a finesse skater. He was really clean, grabbed his grinds. His trick variety was quite big. He could spin right turn a lot, like with alley-oop and 360s, but he could still left spin a lot, like in-spin backslides or the full cam for 50 royals and stuff. He put in, like before I grind, like a tap on the ledge to in-spin back rail, and like during the 70 off, he tapped the ledge again. These kind of tiny aspects. Because before this, I was just like doing grind to grind to grind to grind, roll, jump, slide, jump down, like these kind of basic stuff. And then it really inspired me. This is the main guy I wanted to mention. Like hopefully people Google this section and check it, and it will make sense a bit. For me, it's like such a well-rounded piece, and it's one of those sections in my eyes you can watch in like 10 years and it still feels refreshing. I can still find something to appreciate again. But I would go, I already mentioned it one time in other podcasts, but I never did a deep dive. The Kevin Yee VG23 section.
Know one thing in its entirety. It's to know all things through the lens of that one. For me, this one thing is skating. The greatest benefit from my years of dedicating all of my thought and action to skating.
I mentioned it here and there that I really love this section, but if you watch it now again, you would just laugh a lot because there's so many inspirations. Even my shin slide, my shin kind of soul thingy, or my shin backslide is straight up stolen from there. I even wrote Kevin Yee again, like after I said, look what I did, like it's inspired by you, to give him a shout out for it and stuff. But for sure, like I overdid it again and did it on King West and whatever, like doing my Eugen thing and over pushing it. But this section, like he did crazy body, I would call it a body slide, where he's like laying on the upper part of his legs, but his upper body is not touching, but his lower body sliding basically on the ground, and he slided with his body slide over a bench and spinning while doing it, and into a curb grind and stuff. He did so many out-of-the-box tricks, and he had such a fresh perspective. Lots of parkour elements, crazy lines with alley-oop acid, both sides on tiny handrails. After starting the line with a bio, this was one of the inspiration for my bio line back then. He started a line with a proper bio, and then like one handrail alley-oop acid, another handrail other side alley-oop acid. And I was like, what? As a young boy, I was like, what the fuck? Who the hell starts a line with a bio? And now I'm 15 years later, like I'm starting my lines with bios now. Yeah, it's going all full circle. Sometimes I don't even acknowledge this. Sometimes I was all sections and like, oh, this is where I got this from. My brain, like in the subconscious mind, it kept doing it, and later on, yeah, you're so creative. No, you're not. It's been all the time in the back of your head. Yeah, Kevin Yee to WG23, 100%. Was a massive influence. Negative tricks, citric acids, and these kind of stuff. Yeah, and closing-wise, for this time period, when I fell in love with the section a lot too, because he was going into a tighter pants direction and stuff, which helped me into this direction. I was kind of a bit late bloomer back then. I was still on a wider pants when everybody was slowly already switching to tighter stuff. I have to say it, even so it's a few years ago, 100% Ryan Arnold. Like it's not a lot of footage online of Ryan Arnold. Sad, but the few that we have, especially the Wine Street one, both of them, first and second, had massive input. Maybe not trick-wise, because his tricks are perfectly smooth and stuff, but not my kind of super technical direction. He goes still technical, but in like single trick technicality. Yeah, it's really hard to land in. He did perfect hurricane topsails and stuff. Exactly. But like closing wise, oh my gosh, it's opened my mind. I always been a bit like interested in, let's say, high fashion or like street fashion, urban fashion back then when I was younger, but I was embracing it totally, especially not into rollerblading. I was wearing it privately. I don't know, with friends, like for the university, to flex a bit and stuff, but not during blading. For blading was always functional. The pants will rip. I don't know if I should wear them. But seeing him, and especially like going full deep into fashion with the crazy clothes, and he looked like not even a ninja. He looked like straight out of a desert. It was insane. I love, yeah, like all this windy and moving, beautiful. And it opened my mind for these kind of stuff. And I was like, maybe it's time to embrace these kind of direction for me too. First, personally, I started to embrace it, like checking those brands, checking the history of the brands, looking what he's wearing and stuff. And he sews so much by himself, which was actually a massive inspiration for me too. I never been like super deep into sewing, but as a rollerblader, not every rollerblader, but it's a few street rollerbladers, and I know it's sometimes unavoidable to repair your own pants. It's sometimes happening. And my aunt is like really good with stitching. She used to do it professionally. So yeah, after a while, I saw him like here and there that he actually is going to this direction too, and he's sewing stuff and he's into fashion. So I was like, why I shouldn't try it? This is one of my passions actually, besides rollerblading. A few people know like I'm into not super deep sewing, but yeah, I have like a sewing machine here. And I have one in the corner, I'm 100 years old for like change this stuff. So I started repairing pants, sometimes like configuring them, was going a bit into like patterns and stuff, and was really more and more interested. And then around 2017, I was going, this is when you could see my skating like down in Cowboy Bebop sessions, when I even sewed my own pants and made like some special cuts and stuff. And later on, I was going a bit deeper into technical functional wear, tech wear. Now it's like all popular, and you can buy some cargo tech pants at H&M. But back then it wasn't. It was around to start to get popular with some Nike collabs. But me and my brother Daniel like really embraced it. Make our own technical belts with like special pieces you need to buy from bowling companies and stuff. When really deep diving into this, and you could see it in my skating with the hoodies and the belts and the pants. So I really embraced the influences of Ryan Arnold. After his first Wine Tree section, it was like inspiring, but after the second one, it came around 2016. Yeah, exactly. Around my show, I remember around Shaolin session. Around Shaolin sessions. So yeah, Ryan Arnold is my third pick, 100%, and he still have a massive influence on my skating, 100%. He grabbed it in the air, and everybody's like, yeah, but he loosed it during the grind. I don't give a damn, he grabbed it in the air. Like Josiah Blees one was amazing, where you sit down and overspin. It was amazing, really, really good. And then Niels Jansson did a great one, several ones. But the grab in the air on shadows and staying topside all the way down, and he even so it was slow mo, I remember, but he didn't charge. It was like slow and controlled. Like it's like a half cup fish brain for me. Like Jesus, one of in my eyes still the best. I discuss with this quite often. My eyes is the best. The M1 video, the 22 live video from the Murder One Euroteam times, the Damien Wilson section and the Dagona section, both of them. Damien Wilson for the creativity and for the, let's say, a bit different approach to rollerblading. He did like true Mistral, not grabbing the other leg, and like true spin Macu, spinning around and swapping the feet around like all the way on purpose. And in other times, people would have said, "Yeah, what an ugly true Miso to 60 off," but he did it on purpose and he embraced a different approach. A lot ungrabbed grinds, a lot underbar tricks already back then, like not the topper underbar. He was one of my big underbar inspirations when I started doing the underbar stuff. Later on, like Jeff Phillips and other people for sure too, but he was one of the early ones I saw. Beautiful bios. And Zagona for the music for sure, because it was like, oh, this is something else. This is like a crazy electronical, more remix kind of music. And Dominic Stees, it's obvious. It was a massive influence on me, massive. Like when I started diving deeper into rollerblading and I got better in my first sponsors, I was still mainly, let's say, more technical, and like my skating was a bit stiff, a bit tall, because I mainly skate P-rails. You don't go super deep on the P-rails because you will smash yourself down. But seeing Zagona during those years, I embraced to don't do. I try to do every trick stylish, but sometimes if I go full technical, you need to cut a bit of the style out to survive. And but I have a few tricks that I really worked on, like my top soles. I can in both sides, super deep, top Mistral, my sitting back talk, sitting back slides. I have a few really sit down, not shaking tricks, which I worked for years. And Zagona had a massive influence. Do it simple, do it fast, do it stylish. And for sure the pants, he was in this video already going for tighter pants, putting him over the skates and stuff, and skating like top naked, the tight pants a bit loose already. It was so the funny hats and stuff, crazy mantis hand movements, the slippery slope style during the turns that he used to do already during the, let's say, baggier areas, but then he embraced it properly. It was one of my like really, really favorite ones. Those two, like the M1 video and those two parts, had like a massive influence on me too. And if you rewatch them, you will see a lot of Damien Wilson tricks that I embraced in Shadow Chronicles and Concrete Circus too. Like even my outfit, when I did, it was like a wall, like let's say an angled wall in Shadow Chronicles, where I do 180 against the angled wall and do like mad spin. Illusion 720 off without a grab, like 720, yeah. And the closest I wear is like a khaki pants, which is a bit wider and slim on the bottom. And I wear a white, super tight tank top. On purpose, because it's basically the outfit of Damien Wilson from those days. And I loved it because he always had those super long tank tops, like over the ass, and the white pants, and sometimes like white jogger pants and stuff. It looked a bit like, let's say, rougher and getterish, but I loved it. I loved it so much when I was younger. This was so good. It's massive impact on me till to this date.
I don't give a fuck, dead serious. Like, that counts in my books because I suck. You lazy? And now I got my party hat on and I'm drinking a Four Loko.
A fun fact, after Concrete Circus, a homie of him, who's still an active rollerblader, asked me if I can give him my number for a surprise. And then Damien called me and told me that all the stuff you said, he told me in person. And dude, I was shocked. I was like, my brain was rebooting again for like 2 seconds, like if it's really happening, because like I told you, he's, for me, for sure, he's an amazing. It's not like Latimer's calling you. It's still, but for me, it was like Latimer's calling you, because like I already mentioned, several of his sections had a massive impact on me, and it was a double honor for me if somebody like him tells me like it's everything I wanted to. You took stuff from me, and he didn't feel like I stole it. He really embraced it. Like, you took stuff from me in spite and you pushed it even further, and he was really respectful. Dude, that was really emotional moment for me. Really good. He was so thankful. It was a nice talk. Yeah, it's a good one. Andrei Zaitsev, whatever you want to pronounce it, and wherever you live on the planet. Nickname, I think most of the people call him Zayets. It's like rabbit or bunny, because his second name sounds like the Russian term for it. He was known from the Iguana tours. I think some people in Europe know him. And like Leonov, he was on tour with those guys back then. And for the European guys, he was during the time of the Swiss Connection and Jona Massely. And like I said, like Guido Rosenkrantz, these kind of times with the baggy pants and a bit heavily Dustin Latimer influenced styles, a bit wider legs while landing and stuff. He was really, really, really impactful on me as a blader. So even during his early days, when he was touring to Germany for street contests, it's like there's legendary stories. They're coming over here, killing all the spots that I know since I started street skating. This was already like quite influential. So he was already quite influential during his baggy times. He had like a really, like I said, smooth style, touching two topsoils, really deep down. How to say it? A few similarities, like he was spinning the same direction, using the same legs, similar, simple, basic tricks like Favre Royals and stuff, similar leaning. So I was always like really embracing it. It was like easy for me to identify with his skating. And later on, when he changed his skating and tried also different skates, he drastically, implemented like different elements. And especially one of the sections, the one I sent you, was one of his last sections because he died later on, sadly, rest in peace. He was some of the last clips been him on Shadows, and it's already older section. But the last couple of years, every now and then I watch it again. I watched it several times back then. And nowadays, like I said, I'm coming back full circle on Shadow. It really, really resonates with me. And he did like one of the most influential lines in my life the last couple of years. It's the ender of the section. I would just shortly describe it. There's like a curb, a big ledge curb, hip high, going straight. On the other side are stairs, and on the end of the stairs, like further, there's another tiny ledge. And he's like sliding, tapping the curb and falling on purpose, like you know the trick. Laver falling on purpose, far side, stair bashing, and during the stair bash, he's changing the shoulders, illusion, whatever you want to call it, into a half cap Macu on the ledge, landing and sliding in the wall, and just watching into the whatever, sea, ocean, sunset. And it was just perfectly ended. I never saw something so rounded. And the line and the movements. And there's tons of other tricks in the sections. Like the double set, really flat one, not steep, flat one. And he does a zero spin stale grab. Again, like watching this shoulder, landing fakie. Then illusions, no space in between. Like straight away, illusion, fakie 540, parallel grab. And frontside landing and smooth landed. And this was one, like another inspiration for me to also work with different grabs and grab attempts when I was like 2017 for Groovy, 2018 Groovy Deed, when I did 540 with a double parallel Z side and this kind of stuff for Jonas. It was really, over the years, I find myself more and more like indirectly, like I said, some consciousness, almost like inspired by him. And clothing wise too, he changed his clothes a bit, not too tight pants, a bit like, let's say, regular cut, and with the shadows, wider shirts, really, really chill look, really simple. Like, yeah, in this section and the music too, but the style, that's a massive impact on me. So definitely this one. I'm almost getting quiet, more chill while talking about it. This is the impact it has on me, this section. Yeah. It was really, even in Concrete Circus, like I said, over the years, here and there, I always find myself again, watching it again and finding another piece to inspire myself. When I did in Concrete Circus, those flatland inspired tricks, I did like a sass slide, and then I go fakie stair bash into stairs. And then out of the stair bash, I slide this FSK urban inspired Dustin Babursky slide into a curb. And this whole kind of package of 4 tricks, but it's basically almost all one combination. It was inspired by his line when he did, because he did, like we said, he did like everything in one, like grind, tap, stair bash, everything in one. There's no time in between. It was so fluent, so unbelievably fluent. It's massive impact on me to work on my lines, to work on my execution, my landings and stuff. Because like I said, early on, I was only a P-Rail tech kiddie. And once I started working on my other stuff, I was always like really passionate and disciplined and motivated to work on like other aspects of my blading. But after seeing this, I was like, oh, oh, you can, it's not about like having like on a big line doing every trick good, and in between, like Zagona is always saying, the whole package needs to be fine. Like even the rolling in between needs to be the trick itself. And I embrace this with these kind of sections a lot. And I still don't do a lot of lines, but if I do a line nowadays, I really try to have the in between stuff good too. Yeah. I could have chosen a Dustin Latimer section. We go full nostalgic and talk about these kind of stuff. I had the same moment with him, but I wanted to go a different direction. Walt Austin, but instead we talk about one of the OG sections with millions of seslides and crazy gaps and Elio Ponster 360 Unity seslides on the ground, which obviously had a massive impact on me, where we don't even have to talk about it. His 40 years old section that he dropped 1 year ago. Oh my God. Not only for all the dads who came back into rollerblading, but for me, it was a massive inspiration. Like I always tell friends of mine, like people like Kazu in Japan, who's like quite older and still skating, and like seeing John is really big inspiration, like people in the older age range. And like Richie too. Richie's now he's 10 years older than me, so 40, he's getting 42. So he's still ripping it. It's so inspiring. But Walt Austin, for me, special case because he did so many gaps. So an unbelievable amount of gaps and like straight landed. So the heels, and it's a good old it's a good old I don't give a damn about shock pad times. and his skating was always fast, smooth, like I said, minimalistic. So this is what inspires me. I get inspired, like I said, in my early days by similar skating, and still to this day by Ivan Kovtun and stuff. But usually the big inspiration who changed my perspective when the ones with stuff that I don't have, and like you can't teach style. Like some people are born with it, or you can slowly work there. And so I was always kind of jealous of these kind of skaters and more inspired by him. If you have more like less tricks than technical skaters, but those are way more entertaining and like eye-opening. And Walt Austin was for me one of those. You give him a wall, and just a wall with a brick in front of it, and he will find a way to get a crazy clip out of it. And when he dropped the 40 years old section, and the way but because of Myers, he still progressed. Me and my brother and Yotseng sometimes call the new school wave of skating, like not new school, but the, let's say, more minimalistic, more flatland approach of skating with all the wizard influences lately was so sick. We call it zero impact skating. Not because people hate nowadays hand racer stuff. It's just wiser if you want to keep forever. So people go for less impact, or they have fat shock pads. Not everybody, but let's say on average, the average trend nowadays. And I like it. I do zero impact skating all the day. I skate 80% of the time on a weekend street, but in the week I skate my P-rail. It's zero impact skating. So seeing Walt Austin going into this direction at such an age and still progressing, technically wise, he got even better with the tiny curb he skated at the end of the section. Does a super slow grind, and it's when somebody ever tried to stop on purpose in a point at a spot during a grind, it's so hard to find the timing. You can't just like touch with your wheel and you stopped. It's not that easy. And he's like doing the slow grinds, Nata spinning like on a wheel and like dipping into another grind, and then like 3 variation of those, both top side feet and toe roll, heel roll, and it was for me. It was wow. Okay, if I'm 40 years, I know I'm not super young anymore. But if I'm 40 years old and I still progress in that direction and don't go for massive bio double sets anymore, like my early years or even last years, I'm fine. I can stop proudly, and it's all good. Yeah. So this Walt Austin section, it's quite new, but it had a massive impact, let's say, on my mindset. Not so much on my closing, but on my mindset to tricks. And when it came last year out, you will see a lot of influence on my upcoming video, actually, because I work on a section for my Undercover Pro wheel. I film a bit of street for it since a couple of weeks, and I put in a bit more work. And since it's a wheel promo, I want to embrace myself to use the wheels a bit more instead just grind on grind on grind on grind. So it will be still grinds, obviously, with me, but like a lot of combinations of wheel on the ground stuff and training wheels and these kind of stuff. And let's say I play with elements around the spot itself and wall taps and smashing into walls and these kind of stuff. So yeah, Walt Austin's 40 years old section was my last choice on the list. Yeah.